let's talk about the NFL MVP going into next year. I have a dark horse candidate. You could say it's a dark horse comparative to a lot of different guys that have a bunch of narratives that are being built, such as Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, especially Russell Wilson. I expect him to at least get one MVP vote this upcoming year, especially if they play well. But other than that, I really like Derek Carr. This is going to be a relatively quick video, but I think it's quite simple for his road to MVP because this is something I like to do when I'm talking about the MVP going into next year and really prediction videos overall is when we talk about a certain player or a team, right? What is their pathway to an MVP? Like, for example, I would say if we wanted to go see Luka Doncic next year win the NBA MVP, right? What are the standards and qualifications that would get my vote for him? Obviously, you have to consider the other players that could be making noise, especially in other conferences, but specifically one player, right? And you could say it could be the Western Conference Finals. You could say the Finals. You could say lead the Mavericks to the number 2 seed. You could say average a triple-double. Like it was the same thing we had for Russell Westbrook in 2017 for his MVP. What is the narrative and what qualification could he meet for, I guess, the majority public to vote for him, which tends to lean towards who ends up voting for him. Now, this year was an anomaly with Giannis and Jokic. Now, this is not an NBA video, but it's just an example, right? And with the NFL MVP, it's relatively the same kind of thing where you need a narrative. You need something to back it up. You need a little bit of hype around your campaign, right? And going into his 30s, Derek Carr has been one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the NFL, and the NFL isn't shy enough to not vote him in. Or I would say he is not a guy that is away from votes. He has gotten MVP votes before. He was number 3 in 2016, the year that he had broken his leg, and I believe they had played the Texans in the playoffs in a really heartbreaking way because it was the last week of the year and he had broken his leg. And he hadn't really gotten back into form until a couple of years ago. And now I feel that he has the best supporting cast that he's had over the past 5 years, especially with all the turmoil and off-season drama that I won't get into with the Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders. It's Las Vegas now, but there were still some problems when they were in Oakland. And he obviously, let's get all the pluses out of the way. You get Devontae Adams, you have Darren Waller, you have Hunter Renfrow, you have Josh Jacobs, you have an offensive-minded head coach who I'm not a big fan of, but a lot of people seem to like, is Josh McDaniels. You bring in Chandler Jones to be right next to Max Crosby, which is a dynamic duo. On top of that, you have Stephon Gilmore. There's a lot to like about the Raiders, especially a team that I have been on record that I thought they could have blown everything up with Derek Carr's trade value being the highest that it had ever been. And that was mainly because of the other AFC West teams are so good and they have so much talent on those teams. And to say that Derek Carr is the 4th best quarterback in that division is crazy to me just because of how talented it is. And now we go look at what narratives Derek Carr would have to meet or what are the requirements. I think it's obvious you have to win the AFC West. This is the most stacked division in NFL history. It's crazy that these 4 teams could all easily make the playoffs. And it's still very difficult for 4 teams to make the playoffs. You have to think about it as you have 4 division winners and then you have 3 wild cards. All 3 of those wild cards have to be from the AFC West if all 4 were to make it, which would mean a lot of teams from a lot of different divisions who are super talented would not make it. I mean, think about the AFC North. There's at least 3 to 4 playoff teams in there alone. Not to mention you have the AFC East with the Dolphins and the Bills, and then I'm not going to put the Jets in there, even though their quarterback is the GOAT. Anyways, we have to go and look around and be like, okay, if Derek Carr leads the Raiders above the Chargers, above the Broncos, and above the Chiefs, that's a big leap for a borderline top 10 quarterback to, and obviously it's a team stat. I'm always one to say that quarterback wins and team wins are not the same thing. They're not equal. But he is the leader of this franchise. And there's still some holes on this team. I'm not a huge fan of the offensive line, and their safeties really do concern me. But if he's able to fill those voids and be able to lead this team to a couple more wins, and I'm going to say lead to a couple more wins, not say it's the Raiders are getting the wins. It's not Derek Carr just getting the wins. But if he's playing well enough to put them in a position to succeed and lead them to a division title, That's an MVP in my opinion. And if he was able to get third place in 2016 with, I believe it was 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, is it crazy if he gets 37 touchdowns and probably like 10 picks and he leads them to a division title? Because it's a regular season award. They have already voted before the playoffs, whether you like it or not, because it would change a lot of narratives and a lot of things, especially with Aaron Rodgers. But I'm saying in the regular season, if he's able to dominate with Devontae Adams, his ex-college best friend. I mean, Devontae Adams loves Derek Carr. They're going to have an instant connection. Hunter Renfrow, I assume, could be the number 2 guy, which a lot of people might think is crazy because Darren Waller's on the roster. And yes, the Patriots did have a plethora of tight ends to use. And I think it's really going to be interesting to see, can Josh McDaniels diversify this offense a little bit more? I feel like he might have a little bit more up his sleeve, because if you really look at the Patriots, obviously I love Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones could be one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. But at the end of the day, he's a rookie. The roster did not have great weapons. I mean, we're going from N'Keal Harry to Devontae freaking Adams, the best wide receiver in the NFL. So I fully expect Josh McDaniels to diversify this offense and really try to get the ball into the playmakers' hands. This offense overall is going to be really dynamic. And so I feel that in the AFC, with the schedule that they have, with the division that they're in, I don't think it's that crazy to say that Derek Carr could easily be a dark horse MVP candidate. Originally, this video was going to be on Jonathan Taylor, and I had to sit down and really think about it. It's so difficult for a non-quarterback to win the MVP. It would be a bold take, and if I hit on that, I would put $5 down and probably make $1 million. And Jonathan Taylor is a guy that has so much expectation, especially from fantasy football guys. And if you were to exceed him and lead the Colts to a number 1 seed, I could imagine him winning MVP. But like a realistic dark horse candidate, in my opinion, I think Derek Carr has all the tools and capabilities to really expand his game and take the next step going into his 30s. And he's one of my favorite quarterbacks going into the NFL. Let me know what your dark horse MVP candidates are going into next season. Who is your MVP favorites? I will respond to any comment you leave down below. Thank you so much for watching. I am on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm trying to up my content up. The summer has been crazy, but I do have a lot of things in the works, guys. I'm really excited for you guys to see them. And it's going to be a fun ride throughout the next couple years. I love making videos. So thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. And go be safe out there, y'all.